The strong wind signal number 3 will remain in force before 10 p.m. The new health code system takes effect. And PLA forces carry out drills around Taiwan for the 6th consecutive day. Good evening and welcome to TVB News. The Hong Kong Observatory says the strong wind signal number 3 will remain in force until at least 10 p.m. Tropical storm Mulan is still far from the coast of Guangdong, but its outer rain bands have already brought unsettled weather to the city. Christy Khan reports.
As tropical storm Mulan approaches the coast of Guangdong, Hong Kong has experienced heavy showers and gusty winds during daytime. Heavy rain affected the visibility in Victoria Harbour. Despite the bad weather, some people still carried on with their daily activities, such as jogging and taking pictures of the downpour. A tree toppled in Wan Chai, causing damage to a street lamp. Parts of the promenade at Hen Fa Chuan have been blocked off since the afternoon to prevent people from getting too close to the shore to watch the waves. The Hong Kong Observatory said rain bands associated with Mulan are affecting the northeastern parts of the South China Sea and the coast of Guangdong.
It is forecast to move north at about 80 kilometers per hour towards the vicinity of western Guangdong and Hainan Island, and intensify gradually. Since the region of gale force wind near the center of Mulan is relatively small and still rather far away from the coast of Guangdong, unless Mulan strengthens significantly or takes a track closer to Hong Kong, the strong wind signal number 3 will remain in force before 10 p.m. tonight.
The observatory added that heavy squally showers and thunderstorms are expected today and tomorrow. The weather forecaster warned that there will be a rise in water level, alerting the public to carry out safety precautions against flooding and strong winds. Christy Khan, TVB News.
Typhoon signal number 3 is also in force in Macau and is expected to remain so until at least 9 p.m. Authorities say the chances of the number 8 signal later this evening or at midnight are moderate to high. Macau's Meteorological and Geophysical Bureau said tropical storm Mulan is expected to strengthen. It said Mulan is moving towards the Leizhou Peninsula and is expected to move north and edge closer to Macau, bringing heavy showers and thunderstorms. Winds in Macau will be strong and gusty over the next 2 days. In other news, the city's new health code system took effect today. That prompted concerns as to whether the system gives enough legal protection for local employees flying into the city from overseas or Taiwan. Meanwhile, some restaurants have responded to government calls to update their QR code verification system to adapt to the changes. Things are a little different for customers visiting tea houses today when they scan the Leave Home Safe app. For those who have updated the app, they will see a color code on their vaccination passes. This woman said, "The manager taught me to do it. I don't think my husband knows how to do it though." This tea house said it has already updated the verification app as scanning the health code is similar to scanning the vaccination pass. Its operator said, "The good thing is there are now different colors, so we can directly tell who has a yellow or a red code and prohibit their entry." The government said restaurants are required to update their QR code verification scanner before Friday. For incoming travelers from overseas or Taiwan at the airport, authorities said after completing 3 nights of hotel quarantine, those who have a yellow code can go to work or to school if they test negative every day. But lawmaker Bill Tang said health authorities should detail what will happen if an employer refuses to let an employee with a yellow code return to the office to work. Lawmaker Tang Fei, meanwhile, thinks kindergarten students who hold a yellow code should return to school only after completing 7 days of quarantine. He added that the Education Bureau should clarify what schools should do if a student holding a yellow code tests positive for COVID afterwards. Hong Kong today registered 4,045 new COVID infections, including 262 imported cases. The city's daily infection tally has now lingered around the 4,000 mark for a fifth consecutive day. 3 more COVID-related deaths involving elderly patients were reported. Meanwhile, 401 COVID cases were recorded across 280 schools. Health authorities have advised 8 schools to suspend some in-person classes for a week. Furthermore, 6 residential care homes recorded positive cases. Close contacts of the infected patients are required to undergo quarantine. The mainland reported 828 new domestic COVID cases. Hainan logged 300 new confirmed infections and 171 asymptomatic cases. Since last week, the province has seen nearly 1,900 infections. Tens of thousands of tourists remain stranded in Sanya and other cities. Authorities have arranged charter flights for their trip home. The first batch of 125 tourists left for Xi'an in the afternoon, while 2 other charter flights also took off, heading for Chengdu and Shanghai. Tourists in areas deemed low risk are allowed to leave if they tested negative for COVID in the past 2 days and that the hotel they're in did not register any infections in the past 7 days. Meanwhile, Xinjiang registered 146 cases, with authorities saying the Omicron BA.5.2 subvariant in the current wave of infections was imported. Dozens of cases were also found in Guangdong and Tibet. Mainland military continued to hold drills around Taiwan following U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the island. However, U.S. President Joe Biden said he is not worried about the situation. Caleb Leung has details.
Tensions remain high across the Taiwan Strait as the People's Liberation Army conducted another day of military drills around Taiwan. The PLA's Eastern Theater Command said today's exercises focused on blockades and resupply logistics. Reuters reported that about 20 mainland and Taiwanese Navy boats were close to the median line of the Taiwan Strait this morning. The source said some mainland boats briefly attempted to press into the line while Taiwan's Navy monitored the movements. State media CCTV reported that the PLA's 73rd Group Army conducted maritime assault exercises in the southern waters of Fujian province. This group is seen as a main force in any possible attack on Taiwan. Taiwan's military also started its own drills on Tuesday, with soldiers firing live-fire artillery out to sea in the southern county of Pingtung to test combat readiness. The authorities have warned ships and aircraft not to enter the relative restricted areas. U.S. President Joe Biden was asked how worried he is about the situation.
I'm not worried, but I'm concerned that they're moving as much as they are. But I don't think they're going to do anything more.
Did you know the live move of the speaker to go to Taiwan?
That was her decision.
Meanwhile, a foreign ministry spokesperson warned Taiwan that any attempt to use force to resist reunification is destined to fail.
The tension across the Taiwan Strait is fundamentally about the collusion of the DPP authorities for independence seeking and provocation, and the rejection to recognize the One-China principle and the status quo. We have this message to the DPP authorities that its attempt to reject reunification will be firmly rejected by the Chinese people and will prove futile.
Wang also said the mainland's countermeasures against U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan are legitimate, lawful, and proportionate. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
Increased shelling has been reported in the Donbas region of Ukraine as Russia tries to seize control of the industrial region. Both sides in the war also continue to trade blame over the weekend strikes on the Zaporizhia nuclear plant. Matthew Bray reports.
Russian state TV has been providing footage of what it says is Ukrainian shelling in Donetsk. The unverified video shows residents clearing up debris in wrecked homes. Later parts of the video show Russian jets swooping low and separatists firing artillery. Heavy fighting has been reported in and around Donetsk, but the region is holding, according to the regional governor. Blame is still being flung around by both sides on the state of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, shelled by either Ukraine or Russia, depending on who you choose to believe. A former Ukraine president has called for UN peacekeepers to be deployed to secure the plant currently occupied by Russians.
We propose that this question should be immediately put in the agenda of the Security Council of the United Nations and immediately make a very special decision to deploy United Nations peacekeeping operation on Zaporizhzhia power plant, because that would be suffered the whole Europe, whole world, if it would be catastrophe.
How that would happen without Russian assent is unclear. Moscow has 500 soldiers and heavy weaponry based at the plant. Stepping up fiscal aid and military spending in Ukraine, Washington announced it will spend another $4.5 billion in budgetary support and $1 billion in weapons aid. Pouring money into the war has become almost second nature to the Biden White House, $18 billion so far.
President Biden directed the 18th drawdown of an additional $1 billion in weapons and equipment from the Department of Defense inventories. This is the largest single drawdown of U.S. arms and equipment utilizing this authority to date. The package provides a significant amount of additional ammunition, weapons, and equipment, the types of which the Ukrainian people are using so effectively to defend their country.
And proving it doesn't rain, but it pours. The first grain ship to have left Ukraine, the Razoni, is now looking for another port to offload its 26,000 tons of corn. The Lebanese buyer refused the delivery, citing it was late by 5 months. The shipper is now looking for another consignee and is currently at anchor off Turkey's southern coast. Matthew Bray, TVB News.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, speaking in South Africa, said Washington will not dictate to Africa about its choices as he sought support to isolate Russia over the war in Ukraine. Blinken was presenting a new strategy document for sub-Saharan Africa. It is part of a tour of Africa that will also take him to Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. And it comes just a fortnight after Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov went to 4 African nations, berating the West. The strategy document stresses the threats posed by China and Russia to U.S. interests on the continent.
Too often, African nations have been treated as instruments of other nations' progress rather than the authors of their own. Time and again, they have been told to pick a side in great power contests that feel far removed from daily struggles of their people. The United States will not dictate Africa's choices. Neither should anyone else. The right to make these choices belongs to Africans, and Africans alone.
Still to come on tonight's news, FBI agents raid Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. Welcome back to TVB News. Former U.S. President Donald Trump said FBI agents raided his Mar-a-Lago estate on Monday night and broke into his safe. His son, Eric, acknowledged the incident was part of an investigation into Trump's removal of official presidential records from the White House. Daniel Rao tells us more.
In a statement, former U.S. President Donald Trump, who was in New York at the time of the search, dubbed the incident a raid and said it involved a large group of FBI agents. Trump asserted agents had opened up a safe at his home. The U.S. Justice Department, as well as the FBI's headquarters in Washington and field office in Miami, declined to comment on the matter. Eric Trump, one of the former president's adult children, told Fox News the search concerned boxes of documents that Trump brought with him to Mar-a-Lago from the White House. He added his father has been cooperating with the U.S. National Archives on the matter for months. In February, archivist David Ferriero told U.S. House lawmakers that the National Archives and Records Administration had been in communication with Trump throughout 2021 about the return of 15 boxes of records. The former president eventually returned them in January 2022. During this period, the National Archives was still conducting an inventory, but said some of the boxes may have contained items marked as classified national security information. Trump previously confirmed that he had agreed to return certain records to the archives. He referred to it as an ordinary and routine process, claiming the archives did not find anything. Lara Trump, the former president's daughter-in-law, said he only removed White House mementos that he was legally authorized to take. The search at Mar-a-Lago comes with Trump mulling another presidential bid in 2024 as he faces mounting scrutiny over his actions before, during and after the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol. Daniel Roll, TVB News.
The fire that has been burning at Cuba's main oil terminal since Friday has escalated. A third crude oil tank exploded and collapsed Monday after the fire spread from a second tank. Flames and thick black smoke billowed all day, darkening the sky as far away as the capital, Havana, 130 kilometers distant. Teams of firefighters from Mexico and Venezuela have been helping Cuba, but so far their efforts at containment have fallen short. Yesterday, Cuba shut down its most important power plant near the fire due to low water pressure. The country is all but bankrupt, with blackouts and shortage a regular occurrence. Nagasaki paid tribute to the victims of the U.S. atomic bombing of the city 77 years ago. Participants in the ceremony, including diplomats from nuclear states, observed a moment of silence at 11:02 a.m. That's the moment the bomb exploded above Nagasaki on August 9, 1945. In a speech, Nagasaki Mayor Tomohisa Taue said nuclear weapons can be used as long as they exist, and their elimination is the only way to save the future of mankind. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said, "We must pursue the history of non-nuclear use and make Nagasaki the last place of nuclear attack." The United States dropped the world's first atomic bomb on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, destroying the city and killing 140,000 people. It dropped a second bomb 3 days later on Nagasaki, killing another 70,000. Japan surrendered on August 15th, ending World War II and Tokyo's nearly half-century of aggression in Asia. Back locally, the trial of 6 people in connection with the now defunct 612 Humanitarian Relief Fund is set to begin next month. The 6 defendants, including Cardinal Joseph Zen, former lawmaker Margaret Ng, and singer Denise Ho, have earlier pleaded not guilty to failing to properly register the fund. The fund was set up in 2019 to provide legal, medical, and emergency financial assistance to those arrested during anti-government protests. The court adjourned the case until September 19th, and the trial is expected to last 5 days. The government has launched a new batch of silver bond with the highest ever guaranteed interest rate of 4%. The 7th batch of silver bond will be offered at $10,000 per unit with a tenure of 3 years. Bondholders will be paid interest once every 6 months at a rate linked to inflation in Hong Kong, subject to a minimum rate of 4%. That's higher than the minimum rate of 3.5% of the 6th batch issued in August last year. The target issuance size for this batch of silver bond is $35 billion, but the government may increase the size to a maximum of $45 billion. Starting August 23rd, residents who turn 60 in or before 2023 have until 2 p.m. on September the 2nd to subscribe. And that's the news. Thanks for watching.